G'day, mate. What's your name?
My name is Sean Woodland.
And what do you do, Sean?
I'm a stand-up comedian professionally and a father and a husband and what else? A dog owner, a couple of pet birds. That's about it.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Crowdworkcast. My name's Andrew Barnett. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, my guest today is the awesome Sean Woodland, who is, I cannot rate highly enough as a comedian. He's one of the funniest blokes getting around the scene, and I think not enough people know about him. Luckily, if you do enjoy this episode, or even if you don't, I recommend going along seeing his Sydney Comedy Festival show. If you're in Sydney, he will be on May 12th at the Factory Theatre in Sydney. He's on the factory floor. The show is called Woody Live on the Floor. So go and see that. Get tickets from Sydney Comedy Festival. They're on sale now. And give him a follow. He is at Woody Comedian on Instagram, and he's promised me he's going to start promoting himself more on that. So there should be heaps of good content coming up on that. So check out Woody. If you'd like to come see me live, I'll also be performing during the Sydney Comedy Festival. I will be May 20 and 21 at the Enmore Theatre at the Enmore Comedy Club, the little room there. Those tickets are on sale. I'd love if you could come along to that. Or if you're north of the Tweed, Brisbane, I will be up there on May the 6th, which is a Saturday, May the 6th. I'll be at the Underground Theatre. I have no idea how those tickets are going. So please, if you are north of the border or you know someone up around Brisbane, please tell them to come along, get them tickets or get them to come along. Brisbane Comedy Festival, those tickets are on sale now. That show is called How Good. Other than that, if you were enjoying the podcast, please do like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're watching it on YouTube, leave a comment. Reach out. You can contact me on Instagram, Andrew Barnett Comedy, or on Facebook, same place, or have a look on TikTok. I'm on there as well. So reach out. Let me know who you'd like to see on the podcast and what you'd like me to ask them. Other than that, please enjoy this episode. This is me and comedian Sean Woodland. So dog owner is below, father was first after comedian.
Yep.
And then husband, dog owner. I thought that might have been, because you're a passionate dog owner.
Well, yeah, the new one not as much as the old one. The old one I had when I was by myself, so me and him were fairly close, as
literally,
you would imagine.
Man's best friend style.
Man's best, well, he's the one I've got tattoos of on my arm. And you can see, look, you got a camera there, Barney. That was Dudley, a white English staffy. The new dog, it won't be getting a tattoo.
What is the new dog?
It's another staffy, a black one, but it's what they like to call a rescue. And it's a rescue for a reason, mate. People got rid of it. Yeah.
A rescue staffy I feel like that's your high-risk rescue too.
That'd be like getting one of those children that have fought in a war in Africa or something.
Yeah. Former child soldier.
Yeah, exactly. Sleep with one eye open around them.
Funny. So, let's start with the comedy. How long you been doing that?
Mate, I just thought about it the other day. It would have been 13 years on the 1st of March. Well, what are we now? A week ago.
23.
Yeah.
So 2010.
2010 I started.
So you're around the same time as me. How old were you when you started?
I was 40 and 2 weeks. 2 weeks over the age of 40 when I started.
40.
Yeah.
That's interesting because now, especially now, you see all these guys that start at 18 or
yeah. You want to be
whatever.
pretty clever to do that, I reckon, without having too much life experience.
Yeah, or you're just willing to have not much to say for the first 10
Yeah,
years,
I mean,
suppose.
there's comic. I mean, people like, say, Aaron Chen started when he was 16.
Yeah.
But he was always funny. Like,
Yes.
I remember seeing him when he first started, and I was like, he's a funny kid.
I remember, and I think I've told it on the pod before, first time I met him, I was with Wolfie, and it was Comedy on the Rocks. Like
Oh, the
quarterfinals.
Roxbury, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he came over and just introduced himself and then went and sat with his dad. And I remember Wolfie saying to me, mate, if he's even half funny, we are fucked. And because it was a competition, obviously. And then, yeah, he was.
I won $5,000 out of that competition.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that well.
That was good. That was my first big payday in comedy.
Yeah, nice.
It was, yeah.
So you, what was the impetus to start at 40?
Well, on reflection, I mean, my dog was named Dudley after Dudley Moore. I'd read every book I ever could on comedians. I used to do all the speeches at footy clubs and family functions. I'd started writing jokes, but I think I just didn't know that you could do it, or I didn't have the confidence. One of my really good mates, he always said it, and even like right up, I've got friends that still to this day say, remember when you used to say how much you wanted to be a comedian? I'm like, I can't even remember saying it. I do remember having one night when I was travelling around Australia and I was in a tent and I was thinking to myself, I could go into that pub and make those people laugh, and it was a really profound experience. But I was probably 30 then. And then I just got an email from a friend who was, and at the bottom of it was a link to Raw.
Oh,
and
wow.
I got my life into a reason, mentally better, and I'd sort of sorted that side of things out. So it just seemed to be the right time, I guess. And so I just did it. Yeah.
Bloody hell. So 30, what did we do before 40, before comedy?
I did a trade when I first left school.
Really? You're tradie?
Yeah, not a hands dirty one, though.
What'd you do?
My actual trade, it's called something different now, but it was called hand and machine compositor.
Hand and machine compositor.
So, you know, back in the day when they used to do, before digital technologies, when they'd print a newspaper, each of those letters that you saw on a newspaper was slotted in, hand set. So that was what my trade was. But it was merging into computer stuff, so I was pretty switched on with computers.
So you're right on the cusp of when
computers basically. So I did that trade and then worked pretty much for the government as a teacher and in the TAFE system. And
really?
Then just got too sad being a fraud and had to leave Canberra. After I finished playing footy, my best mate left, and 2 weeks after he left Canberra, I was like, holy shit, what am I doing here? Everyone else has got 10-year-old kids, and so I got out and then I was a postman for a while and a cook, and then did a teaching degree. They gave me a degree in a year because of all the prerequisite learning I had, and then I never even used that. So,
wow,
that was. But done quite a few different jobs, I suppose, over that. But I did the opposite to what people do. I sort of had my career first, then had your midlife crisis, and then did something fun, which is
when you. I often look because I thought I was starting late. It must have been 20.
You would have been late 20s.
Yeah, 28, I reckon.
Yeah.
And I thought I was late to the game, but. Now I look back and go, oh no, I was still.
You look at
young.
me and you go, no, I was
all right. But also, I look at me now and just go, okay, I wasn't. I look now at the 28-year-olds that are doing comedy, and I'd never think that any of them are starting late when they're 28.
No, I think it's probably a good time.
Yeah. Well, I just wouldn't have been any good before that. Like, I wouldn't have had anything to say.
Well, a lot of them don't. They've just watched the famous ones and try and replicate them in their first gig. And it's like, no, that takes time.
Yeah, it takes time and perspective.
To be able to talk about those vile things that you're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, there is something about an open mic night where you really, one, you see everyone's influences, but two, you do see people trying to do something that took 30 years to craft.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they want to talk about something revoltingly sexual or whatever, and it's like that takes time to learn how to do that. And there's not many out-and-out genius types, is there, really?
No, it's like anything. Yeah, there's not. In any given field, there's people who are good, people who are, not so good, just getting by.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the the occasional genius.
Yeah, absolutely. You get, like one a generation, like in sport, isn't it? You get the odd one that's like, whoa, that's a standout, but the rest of us toil. But it's like, anything you want to be good at, you got to work at, haven't you?
Yeah, you got to put the time in.
Yeah.
So yeah, bloody hell. So it's been a while now. That's 13 years.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's probably as long as I had longer now than I had my initial sort of career, which was from the trade and then into the teaching side of things. So, yeah.
Happy with this one, though?
Oh, God, yeah. I remember working in Canberra, for the TAFE system and just every day thinking, people go, wow, that's really interesting. You learn how to build websites and teaching people how to use Photoshop and blah, blah, blah. And I used to just think, no, it's not. And then I'd just, every day you would expect someone to go, you're a fraud, aren't you? And I'd have to go, oh, thank God. Someone's finally exposed me. I'm fucking out of here. I'm right. But I ended up having to do it myself. Yeah, it was...
Why did you think you were a fraud in that field? Is that
just because I didn't care. I just did, like if you grow up somewhere really nice and secure like Canberra, you just go through the motions. You end up with a job. You end up, like, everything's easy. I reckon, like, even if you go back to your hometown, look, I've known people who live in Bondi and whatever that are in ruts. It doesn't matter where specifically. But if you don't go away, you never find out who you're actually meant to be because you just play your role amongst your friend group. And I played footy till I was 30 as well. So you just woody at footy. Yeah. And that's so you just behave the same way all the time. So you don't actually get to fully become who you are, I think, unless you go away. Or unless you're one of those people that from early on has known and has that confidence.
That always interests me. You see these people that just from a young age seem to be very confident in who they are, know who they are.
Walking comfortably in your own shoes, if you can instill that in your kids or that, you laugh. Like, it's a great age to get where you don't give a fuck and you know yourself well enough. And, like, I'm glad now, but that's probably why I do comedy, I suppose. All that sadness earlier on. But, yeah, it's you teach your kids, resilience and being all right with who they are. They're halfway there. I'm not so worried about their education and that sort of stuff like that. Take care of itself. But
that's what I always say to my kids. Like, I don't care about the results as much as I care about. Are you putting in? Are you just
having a go? Are
you doing your best? And if there's something where you're not getting it, and it's because there's something's falling down,
you're thick.
We'll have a look at it. But if it's just not for you, then
that's fine.
Give it a crack. And there's because you're right. Like, it's not, especially the world my kids are growing up in. Like, they're not. Like, you mightn't. Like, doesn't matter if you.
No, everyone's going
to
get
a decent job.
Everyone's
going to be
all right.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be. People aren't. Well, not usually. Most people aren't starving.
Well,
in Australia. You're going to find a way to survive.
Yeah, once you get through, like if you've got yourself through a the decent level of education and that sort of stuff. Not everyone gets to do that, obviously. No. But talking about your average middle class kid, they will, unless something goes completely sideways. They fall into the wrong things. But that's why with my kids, like you get to see these parents really stressing over.
Oh, mate.
Results and stuff.
I live in Sydney's east or the southeast, but still, it's still the amount of stuff some kids do, like on a weekly basis, the number of activities they do. We've had friends having their kids doing extra tuition from when they were 5, and it's just like, what?
Well, you know that job you went for though. That they did ask what your results in kindergarten were like. That's what gets me. Like, no one, all the stuff that seems important at the time. This is I think I'm learning later in life, that all this stuff that seems important in the moment, you look back at 5 years later or whatever, and it's just not that important.
It's
like,
not.
No one.
Even the year 12 thing with kids. I mean, some kids kill themselves, mate. It's not that fucking important.
No, and that's the thing is, like, you want to do well, get into uni. Yeah. But what is it, like 3 years you can go in as a mature age student and the results don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, and you spend those 3 years doing something fun. Like, it feels like a long time because at the time you're 18.
Yeah.
And 18 to 21 is a big percentage of your life at that stage. But it's really not. Like, I you know what I mean? Like, well, what do you really feel like you did between 18 and 21 anyway?
I know exactly
you know
what I did. Look, I went to a school assembly for my young bloke yesterday. well, that's an hour of my life I'll never get back.
Yeah.
But what astounded me going to there was how they, 5th and 6th grade kids, and how the teachers still speak to them like they're fucking morons. That patronising, condescending sort of, I could not believe it. And I'm like, and there was, out of a class of 25 got an award. And I'm like, no, I don't know if that's our life.
What's that? Yeah, it's getting percentage-wise, it's getting up there.
It's it's too much.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you make of that? Like, because you talked about you teach your kids resilience, and that's I think one of the harder things. Like, because as a parent, you want to protect your instincts, protect your kids from everything.
But you got to let them cop a few whacks, haven't you?
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's why I try and bully my kids as much as I can, just to prepare them. It's no, I mean, it's really interesting. We were with some friends recently, and my daughter's razor thin. And this so's her friend, but 3 different people had called this girl fat, and it affected her. Whereas if you call my daughter fat, she'd just go, "No, I'm not."
yeah.
But that's what I mean with an individual. And like talking about bullying, what it used to be was just a good way to keep simpletons in their place, or whatever. But some people react differently. It's like, on a building site, some blokes you can take the piss out of and whatever, and it's fine. But other people, it's scarring them, and you're not necessarily even aware that that's happening.
Yeah.
But like, and that's why with my daughter, if someone said that to her, she just wouldn't give a shit. And that's why I like, by calling them names a lot, they get used to it, my kids.
Yeah, my kids are proud nerds.
Yeah.
Like, especially my oldest boy.
You're allowed to be now. You're allowed to be a nerd. It's fine. Well, we've empowered them, and they're pretty much running the show now, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it's if you're good with ones and zeros.
Ones and zeros.
You can pretty much do anything these days. Yeah. But that's it's interesting because I find the same thing. Like, I want my kids to be resilient, but then at the same time, you don't want them. Your instinct is when they
absolutely it is. Yeah,
to protect them.
Well, it's like when they're playing sport. My kids play footy and that, and it is. Neither have been hurt or that yet, but it's very difficult to not. I mean, I shut my mouth. Like, you can tell the parents that can't shut up are the ones that never achieved anything themselves when they're watching sport or whatever. I'm not talking about barracking or whatever. You just shut up and let your kids go. But it is. It's your instinct is to always try and protect them, and they just got to learn. Like, it's really, really hard. Like, I've noticed with my boys, there was a little bit of testosterone starting to come in their footy side last year, and they're all, they've been mollycoddled all their lives, and all of a sudden someone drops an elbow on one of them, and they're all like, "What's going on?" They had no idea how to react to it. And I'm like, unfortunately, you're just going to have to. I pulled them. I had to coach one week, and actually 2 weeks I ended up doing it. I've got 100% success rate, but I just, at the end of this one game, I just pulled them aside and sort of said, "Boys, you're going to meet dickheads all your lives. So you got to get used to dealing with people that you're not sure that you mightn't like or whatever, And I see it with my son all the time. He's like, that person's this, that person's that. I'm like, oh, well, you just got to get used to it, mate. You're not going to like everyone you meet. And
you don't have to, and they don't have to like you, and that's fine.
No.
Yeah, that's a good lesson for the kids to learn. It's funny you should say about the kids' sport. That's what I played sport my whole life growing up.
Still do, mate.
Yeah, mate. Played a bit of...
Heard about your cricketing exploits?
Oh, you've been talking to Philpy.
Yeah, I have.
6 for Steve, as he calls himself. Mate, it's funny because it was one of the days we had a couple of kids from the 15s fill in for us in that side. And one of the kids, and my son plays in the 15s, and it was one of the other kids was there. So I'm around him a bit. I'll fill in for the coach if he's away or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember one of them I was bowling. He was just at mid off, and might have been Philpy. It might have been one of the other blokes just having a chirp, and there was a bit of back and forth, and it was quite direct.
Yeah.
The communication.
Yeah.
And the eyes on this kid were just wide as. And
As it made him angry, or it
no,
intimidated him,
he's
or
like,
he just couldn't believe?
I didn't. Yeah, he was just in disbelief.
Yeah.
And I said, there's a bit more talk in men's cricket. He goes, yeah, I can hear that.
I remember playing footy with blokes, and I wasn't good enough, and I was only a very little boy even when I was 17. But some of my mates were men at the age of 17, and they were playing senior footy, and it's a bit like when you start comedy. I remember looking at certain venues, going, "There's no way I could MC this place," and then a couple of years later, you are.
Yeah,
but it's I don't know, with boys, like, they do need to. Well, I think we're a bit harder on boys in a sense too. Like, I'm probably harder on my son than
I'm way harder on my son
than I am certainly on my daughter, which isn't fair. But I sort of know that as a bloke, you got to teach them to be respectful, but also strong, and all those things.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think is, and I don't know how, like, if it's underrated, but I was saying to the guys at cricket, like, we need to get these young blokes, like, when they're ready to start coming and playing a bit of men's cricket, that's the best thing for them.
Yeah. Because
it's, one, you go out of your little bubble. You go from big fish, little pond into, okay, you're back to here's a way to solve it. But I remember playing, like, I started playing men's cricket reasonably young, and it was eye-opening, and it was, you sort of learnt to deal with different personalities, and you learnt your place, and you learnt that, okay, the world's not, like, when you first start going out in the piss, and there was always that one mate who just had them, and you're like, you've never been around people that can hurt you, have you? It's never occurred to you that you
might get punched in the head.
In the head, and then it sort of just set the timer down for that bloke to get, and that's where that, in a much safer environment, sport's really good. Where
it is.
Like, all of a sudden you're going up against a fully grown man, and you're like, okay,
sport cops a lot of shit, but I'll tell you, now that my kids are both doing it, and even my wife, who's never been part of like a sports team per se, she's like, now I see why you love footy so much. Like, I got a mate from Canberra coming up tonight, staying the night. All my best, like my original best mates, still are to this day. They're not from school; they're from football.
So you're footy, you're talking rugby league?
Rules. No, Aussie rules.
Aussie rules.
Yeah.
Really? So Canberra is one of those places that can go either way.
Yeah, well, a lot of people from Melbourne moved up there when I think the public service shifted. So there was a reasonable. It was a pretty good comp when I was playing. Like,
what position? What are you talking?
I was Rover? I was terrible at that. The ruckman could hand it to me and it'd just go right through my hands. I was pretty shit. Because I wasn't very good, I was better off playing in the back line, because then the ball comes to you. You just follow someone around. So I did like a bit of a tagging role, and then as I got better, I played on the wing, and it was a bit more Larry and whatever. But
bit quick.
I was quick enough. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
quick enough. I like that. That's a guy who's played a level good enough to know that it was all right, but not where you're like you've obviously played with guys that are genuinely that next level.
I can't believe some of the blokes that I played with didn't play AFL. Like, I know once you get there, there's a bit of luck. Some of them aren't prepared to put in the work, and a lot of massive pissheads, obviously. But the line between the brilliant, the AFL players and the blokes that are just as good, it's not huge. I think it's a lot of things, whether you can handle the training, whether you can handle all sorts of things. Because I played with some incredible footballers, like, that only ever played one or two AFL games.
I played, so where I grew up until I was 16, down Corowa, sort of near Albury. So that was real. So there was a couple of guys I went to school with who ended up playing a bit AFL. Yeah. So Ryan Houlihan, and I went to primary school with him, and he was next level at primary school. It was just...
you can see. There's a kid who plays in, my daughter, she's already playing rep sport. She's 9.
Your weekends are screwed, mate.
I don't mind, actually. I get to go away every now and then with comedy, so I'm all right.
Yeah.
The weekend she played in the state championships for OzTag, my wife Lou had to take her out there for the weekend to Penrith. Yep. And I was in Byron for the weekend working, so, it was a tough one. But, she, straight away, like, you can just see there's a kid that plays with my daughter. Her mum, I believe, the old man played state cricket for New South Wales. And the mum has played rep Australian OzTag. and you see this kid. She's a year younger than my daughter, and like she won them their grand final, like unbelievable. And you see him every now and then. Every school's got one, or the occasional school, and you just see someone and you go. And I remember this girl when I watched her play her first game of AFL. I'm like, fucking keep that kid in cotton wool because she's going to make a fortune. Like, you know, she's just, you just see them. You can see them. The ones that are absolutely, but even them, like you just said, like Ryan Houlihan, I know who he is only because most people wouldn't.
No.
So you can be that brilliant and still, once you get to that level, it's just different things happen.
Well, he had one of four. And so I'm not sure if his younger brother.
I think there was a couple. One played at Carlton from memory.
So I think Ryan played at Carlton, did he?
Yeah, I reckon Houlihan
Ryan played at Carlton, and then one of his older, I think Adam played at the Cats, and their oldest brother, was it Adam, the oldest one? I thought it was Damien. Damien played for Collingwood briefly.
Right. Done that shit, you went, the whole family's fucking good at something like that.
That was the youngest brother was supposed to be the good one.
Yeah.
And the story was, I think Adam, so he'd be the second one, growing up wasn't that, he was just a short kid, like a little slider kid.
Yeah.
And then, so he actually started, I think he started on a jockey apprenticeship. And then just had a growth spurt, ended up 6'2", and got drafted in the AFL.
That's a fair growth spurt.
Yeah, so they were that family were just gifted.
Shit, you know.
From the start. And then I think Justin Kazitsky was the year below me.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Played at St Kilda. Yeah.
And then there was Aaron Hanneman.
Don't know that one.
Played a bit of cricket with him. I think he played at Essendon for a bit.
But okay.
They all guys, but just all talented guys.
Yeah.
But like you said, like
I'm big on it for sport for the kids. Like it teaches them like everything they need to know, like really socially and whatever. Like
exactly.
I wouldn't let them play rugby league, but
no. Well,
it might sound a bit snobby, but I've got this theory that the reason I know they're all can be fuckheads, whatever. Yep. And, you know, they're going to be no matter what, some of those people. But the more cross-section of society you've got in your sport, the better it tends to be. Rather than if you've got all snobby upper class, you know, like, say, rugby union, and then rugby league, you've got all the actual, you know, the real dark blue collar. And it's like, you're better off having a blend.
You are. I tend to agree with that. I think rugby league cops it because I think the NRL have, and I kind of admire it. They wear their scandals. They don't try and hide anything.
That's because they couldn't hide.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. They've basically gone from.
It's a very grassroots like tribal game, and it always will be. Like it's. Yeah.
But it's
built on controversy. Like it broke away from rugby union, and it's been controversial ever since, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was proudly working class.
Yeah.
Which is look, I've done that. Like I knew you would have done the same. You do sports lunches for a union club. You do sports lunches for a league club. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's just different jobs they've taken the afternoon off from. Generally, So I remember doing
different levels of wealth.
Yeah, exactly. I remember doing the first union one that I did, and I was just looking around going, okay, no, you guys are exactly the same blokes.
Yeah. One works in the bank and the other one builds it. That's
exactly.
Yeah. I know. I'd rather hang around most of the time too. Yeah.
Well, whoever's paying for the sportsman's lunch, mate.
In those cases, absolutely, mate. Yeah.
So, do you do a lot of sports lunches or that sort of stuff? Like, because you're pretty, you're on stage persona's reasonably knockabout. How does?
Yeah, I guess.
But I know we've got sometimes there's people whose act people think will go well in certain situations.
No, I'm all right in them. I mean, I can do. I mean, I've sort of done gigs for. I never feel too comfortable if I've got to put a collared shirt or a button-up shirt or a tie. I can't wear a tie. Like I look like an NRL player about to say not guilty. You're right. There's certain. I'm sort of proud of the fact that I've been through all sorts of different groups of people and seem to be able to make younger, older, and make them laugh. sometimes I find like the corporate thing and the footy lunch thing, like they're good fun, they can be, but in some ways I feel it stifles my desire to just be an actual comedian, like to be able to entirely say what I want to say and but then again, it also pays the bills, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And they can be fun. Yeah.
But you're like I'm a bit obsessed at the moment with this idea of there's guys that they do their thing very specifically, or there's guys that can do their thing in multiple different.
Yeah, I can adapt.
You're one of the sort of, for me, and I talk about Mickey D's the perfect example.
Yeah,
the guy you've got one guy who's got to make a group laugh.
Yeah,
your life's dependent on it.
Yeah,
You just got to throw them in. You don't know anything about the group.
Yeah.
There's certain guys you'll throw in.
Yeah. I've made probably over the last 12 months more of a conscious effort just to do more, which financially is not the smartest move, but to do just more and more comedy in comedy clubs, just to see if I can just focus on saying exactly what I want to say and
find your audience that way.
True voice and your audience, yeah. So, but it is good, yes, to be able to know that you can go to whether it's a group of real estate agents or cyclists or a bunch of nurses or whatever, and be confident enough that you'll be able to resonate with them is good.
Yeah, because I think part of it is like the stuff you talk about is very accessible for a wide group.
Like hopefully relatable for a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the key...
Not the anti-vaxxers.
No. Well, you can't get everyone, mate.
No.
Because your show last year was called Doing Your Own Research.
It was, that's right, yeah.
So how did you cop any anti-vaxxer love?
I've copped a fair bit recently online. Dave Hughes and I were doing a gig, or I was opening for him, in Central Coast.
Yep.
End of last year. And, of course, I came off stage and he just goes, "You're basically up there attacking me, mate."
Really?
He goes, "You make jokes about people that drink alcohol-free beer. You make jokes about vegans. You make jokes about the whole... I mean, he was more against the lockdowns than anything.
Yeah.
But me and him both laugh about it. Like, he's great. We're telling jokes about... Because as a comedian, I laugh at his jokes. They're funny jokes. I don't care that he's a vegan or he drinks alcohol-free beer. I couldn't give a shit.
No.
Or what he thought, But some people, obviously, in the audience, they don't understand subversion, and maybe, I do probably believe that people should have helped out when it came to things with the vaccine. Just the fact that the arrogance required to think that you're fucking smarter than 90 to 95% of the population.
Or just a bunch of scientists who dedicated their lives to...
Yeah, and just their general... I know, and being close to a few conspiracy-type people, and it's like, oh, fuck off. Like, you're not, like you're smoking weed. Like, I've smoked weed. I know what it does to your brain. I think I can write jokes when I'm stoned. I fucking can't. I'm not as smart as I thought I am, and that's, I don't know, it's just a mindset. And in a scary time like a pandemic, of course people are going to kick off, and they've continued. They haven't stopped with that. They're all the sovereign citizen types now. And I've had a couple of people that I have been close to. And so I never went around bragging that I had the vaccine. Like, but they're all, it's, the same people. As soon as you see them, in the, that understated bloody tone about, what's going on with this vaccine, they're all trying to poison us. Oh, fuck off. Like, Jesus Christ.
With the conspiracy theories, my thing's always like to what end? Like, what's the point of doing all this? The one that really gets me is the lying about the world being flat. Or it's like, who wins out of this one?
I mean, I got a mate who just was slipping over the years. Was a really keen socialist type person originally, and now he's bloody slightly to the right at Genghis Khan. Like it's. I remember when I really first started to lose it for him was when he told me that Martin Bryant was a patsy.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So that was one red flag, and then it just got worse and worse. But they're also, it's like, it should be a mental illness.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's my firm belief that they've lowered the bar for mental illness over the last decade or so. Like, anyone can fucking have one now.
You've got some great material.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that yesterday. I was parked behind a car at the lights, and they had just one bumper sticker above the other. The old Dilligaff was at the bottom. Do I look like I give a fuck? And right above that, it ain't weak to speak. I'm like, I'm not speaking to you, am I?
Make up your mind.
Mate.
But it should be, because it's like it's like trying to speak to, someone who's under the influence of drugs, like in a psychosis, or someone who is having a serious mental health episode. You're not getting through to them. You can present, and look, I also understand. I've been doing a joke about that too. That we get information politically. Some of us vote Green, some vote Liberal, Labor. I don't care. I couldn't give a shit what you vote. But we all look at the information and we decide, and that's the same thing that happens scientifically with the vaccine. Like, don't go to a doctor if you don't trust Western medicine. See how that works out for you. And that's it. Some people, but that anti-vaxxer thing, man, that's been around for 200 odd years. They're still using the same bullshit that they were 200 years ago. So,
and it's, I think I've got a theory too, that because you mentioned the smoking pot and that sort of stuff.
Oh, there's definitely a link there.
Well, I think there's a link to if you've ever had some sort of, like, I find addiction. Like, a lot of ex-addicts can buy into it.
And
that
current
sort of stuff. And current ones, yeah. But I think there's something in that, like this idea that there's hidden forces. Yeah. Which you sort of have to buy into for all these conspiracy theories.
That's like a mental illness.
But if you felt addiction, you felt the invisible hand that's forcing you one way.
Something, I can't control this. And that's what a lot of conspiratorial thinking comes from, that, hang on, this is too weird, or they can't accept that really bad things happen, so they have to have an excuse or a reason for it. Anyway, I did get a bit of online abuse. One filmed me for my whole set, and there's 400 people in there, 399 of them are pissing themselves, and that's what always astounds me. It's like when you read a comedy review and they say how shit a comedian was. Everyone else was laughing. It's like, well, fucking pay attention to that.
I love that bit.
Imagine writing that.
The crowd seemed to enjoy it, however. It's like, what?
It's like, that's all that matters, you dickhead. So these people, and then I got a fair bit of abuse online for a while, but that's like, for me, not like, more famous ones get all the time, like, Nick Cody and Luke Heggie, they get a lot more than you'd never cop any shit online, would you, too much?
Oh, I cop heaps.
Oh, because you do a bit. You got the vaccine stuff too,
Yeah, I haven't copped.
Oh, and you've been on TV, mate.
Yeah.
So you just
radio's the best, man. Those text lines.
Oh, is it really bad?
I remember when I first started doing stuff at SEN on the text line, there was this guy who identifies himself as the reptile. That's just his,
good stuff.
Yeah. I remember he texted in one of first shifts. He boys, great show, and he singled everyone out, each of the guys in the room, and then just go, Barney, I'd rather slam my dick in the car door than listen to you. And then I was just like, I read that out on radio. I said, look, if anyone sees a car pulled over on the side of the M4, a guy just giving himself the business, I said, give him a honk, let him know.
I do worry for some. Like, I remember doing those TikTok ones for, at the Factory Theatre last year during the festival. And the kids are all out the back. Well, kids, they're 20 to 30, whatever. I'm like, don't fucking read them, and they're all reading them, and then I can see their faces dropping. I'm like, don't read them.
It doesn't matter.
None of them would ever, like the one I always reflect on is all the people that were so opinionated about Adam Goods, saying what a dickhead he was, whatever. Not one person ever fronted him publicly and said something to him. So that's the sort of pond life you're dealing with anyway. They can say whatever they like online.
That's the thing. Like, they're not coming to the show. Don't worry about it.
No. And nor are they ever going to say something to your face anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's social media is a fail for humanity.
Mate, I've had people. I did a corporate where I got back in the I got heckled in direct messages on Instagram after
from a corporate.
From like a sports thing.
Oh, brutal. From what, science jokes?
No, just some a table of young girls that were talking through during the whole thing, and I asked because the other people around them were shushing. I just said, "Oh, do you mind just?" And then after that, they just like, yeah, so they sent me, they tracked me down on Instagram to
tell
do
you you're a
that.
prick.
I had another guy, same on radio, just got off air. Me and Philby had done a shift, and this guy had got on, because Philby was talking about when he was working at Domino's as a teenager.
Yeah.
And I just get this message in direct messages, hey, is that job at Domino's still going? You and Philby can both go, average radio.
I mean, at least some of them are funny, you know?
Well,
like,
that's what I was
I don't mind if they're funny.
But that's what you just sent back. Oh, mate, thanks for listening. Thanks for the... Also, he looked me up and followed me.
Exactly.
So,
Can you imagine going to the trouble just to tell someone that they're shit at something? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't care. I'm not an arguer. I don't really... Again, I get what information I want and I make my mind up. But I can't think of anything worse than sitting around trying to convince someone to vote bloody Labor or Liberal or like...
No.
I don't care.
No, it's just...
Being good at arguing, it doesn't even mean you're right. Like, politicians are good at arguing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because you swallowed a fucking thesaurus, like, it means nothing. It doesn't make you right. And the more right someone thinks they are, generally that's the more suspicious I am.
Well, the more sure of anything that people are when they're 100% sure on a whole world view.
That's danger.
You're like, oh man, the amount of information you have to leave out.
Yeah.
Because there's always a but. Yeah, okay, but what about this? But what about that?
Yeah.
Like, that's where I don't know. I just try and sort
of... The grey's the interesting bit.
Yeah, exactly.
It, you know? And it's... But yeah, I'm not into arguing. I don't even argue with my wife. If we ever have a blue, it escalates fairly quickly and it's get fucked, and then that's it. It's done. Yeah.
Then we're
fine. 5 minutes later, proper intellect. Yeah. You know when you watch a drama and you think they're trying to actually deconstruct their psychology and personality, and you're like, I've never ever had a discussion nor an argument with anyone in my life that's been to that level. That's really good script writing is all that is. Because no one argues like that.
I often watch
fucking logic.
TV.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Like you watch TV and you're like, oh, this is how would you like the answers, the comebacks that they have in the moment?
Oh,
that
incredible.
You're like, man, it'd take me a week to think of that.
It's like us. Most of our best comebacks come to us about half an hour on the road on the way home from a gig, don't they?
Yeah.
You know?
If I have a really good put down for a heckler, it's usually because at some point previous someone's heckled with the same thing.
Yeah.
And I've thought of it
it's
on
in the
way.
vault.
And I'm like, okay,
and
beautiful.
You've
got that preloaded for next time.
Yeah, but it never happens like that anyway, does it?
No, it's yeah. But I'm with you. I don't think that I think it's the world would be very uninteresting if we all thought the same way anyway.
Fuck yeah.
Like
I want to learn. That's all I'm here for. I'll be part of anything. I'll listen to, not always. There's some, people I think, and I don't really. You don't need to listen to everyone's opinion.
No.
That's absolutely bullshit. I'm entitled to my opinion. It's like, you're not entitled to fucking facts or being evil.
You're entitled to an opinion, but people are entitled to be wrong. But it doesn't mean they're not wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, mate, you've got every right to be an idiot.
Yeah. And look, that's the other thing. The more someone tries to convince me of anything, the more I feel like I'm being sold something, then I'm more likely to be suspicious of it. Like, I've been running again. Like, I stopped running. I used to always love running, but I stopped when I was 49 and I'm now 53 and I thought, I'm going to run again. So I've started running again. I just... doing the gym wasn't enough to keep all the beer off and whatever. And I'd always said that I wanted to run a marathon one day, and I got up to 30K was as far as I ever got. And I'm like, right, I'm going to do a marathon. So our mate Mick Meredith, his partner Mo, is like a personal, but she's like one of those proper obsessives. And then all these people, since they found out, they're like, if it's not on Strava, which is an exercise app.
Yeah, I know Strava.
And they're like, if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. And I'm like, I just want to fucking know how far I ran and, and how long it took. And they're like, oh, man. But I get it. It's people obsess about anything. And that's like, I find once you're fanatical about something, that sort of loses its appeal a bit for me.
Mate, Mickey D has been trying to get me onto Strava for ages.
Oh yeah, I saw he was on there.
But he, I'm refusing because I don't want my bad runs to be.
Yeah, well, you don't have
Public.
to put them all up there.
Do you
What
know
I
what I
worked,
mean?
and then I thought, all right, I'll play this game. So I ran 17K on Sunday.
Oh,
And,
nice.
I've only been running again for 3 weeks.
Jesus.
I'm lucky. That's all it is.
huge.
Yeah, I should be 150 kilos and just about dead the way I treat my body. But yeah, it's great. And I'm like, oh fuck it, I'll show off then. Or you scrub, and they're all like, what? And but it's it's the same. People need. It's like gyms, because me and Luke Heggie, our mate, we go to the gym together, and have been for a few years. We just get in there, sweat. Now we're starting to try and spend a bit more time trying to work out who the biggest fuckwit in the gym is. It's just brilliant.
Well, it'll be one of the two of you.
It's probably us walking around looking at all the other dickheads. But it's just incredible how it's performance art for people with no talent. Like, there's no way all that shit those people do makes any difference than if they just ran up and down a hill 10 times. Like with their little elastic bands and shit. It's like, fuck off. Just get fit. Setting their cameras up. It's like, you're not achieving anything apart from, vanity.
That is the fascinating development in gyms that I've noticed too. Like when you go and there's the people, and they're just filming their form. It's
unbelievable.
Like, what is?
But it's performance art for them.
Yeah.
For people with no discernible skills or talents.
Also, sometimes too, I see people at the gym and they're like, good shape, like big.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, well, what's this for?
Pyramids have been built, mate.
Yeah. Like, what are we putting this level of strength?
I think Haggie's got a new joke about that, actually, about real estate agents with muscles.
Yeah.
Fucking clipboards must be heavy.
It's so true, though.
It is.
It's just,
yeah. Well, it's vanity. And vanity, look, we found out with Shane Warne, vanity can kill you.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's
what you look like doesn't, especially when you get older, and if you're married, it doesn't matter. But that's what, speaking about women in audiences, good-looking women in audiences can be really difficult because they're just not used to having to play by the same rules as everyone else, and you think, geez, one day you mightn't be as good-looking and you're going to actually have to be a decent person, aren't you?
That is, and that's one of those interesting things. I've always said there's nothing scarier than the group of drunk women.
Oh, God, no, I'd take drunk blokes any day.
Because because you can go the drunk blokes. Whereas if you don't thread that needle really well with the drunk women, and one of them cries, all you are then is the guy that made.
Crying's the best way ever to win an argument, isn't it? If you are, because it's over.
Yeah.
Once someone cries, you're fucked.
That's it. You made that person
it's
cry.
Gone. Is it like if you're having a chat with your wife or whatever, or once she cries, that's it. It's game over.
Yeah.
There's all reason is left the argument, and you're gone. You've lost.
I've been
tool.
Working on a bit about how basically I don't cry enough. Because basically the idea is that like I can tell you the last 3 times I spewed.
Yeah.
Don't know the last time I cried.
I used to do a joke about crying when the dog died and whatever, but it's I mean, that's what I say to the kids. You break your arm and they're crying. It's like, well, is it making it any better? No, we'll stop fucking crying then.
That's it. That's that kind of advice we got as kids, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
But you've got to honour their emotions now.
Yeah, you gotta. I don't know. I don't want to become one of those people that's like the world's shit. It was better when I was a kid or any of that. But you just deal with your own kids in however way you can. Exactly,
and I think that's I think the thing is, where you become that bloke is where you're not aware of not wanting to become that guy, and you're not listening to the new information that's coming in. It doesn't mean. I think sometimes we did that fear of becoming the person who's like, mate, the world's shit now, will lead some people our age, or
it's a slippery slope for some blokes. It's often the path of least resistance. Like as they get maybe a bit more scared as they get older. I mean, you look at your Mark Lathams and those sort of guys, and you're like, what the fuck has happened, mate?
Where'd you go, mate?
Just relax, mate. It's all right. The world's all right. Like I'm always like I've been trying to write a joke about it actually, about just nostalgia in general. It's it's dangerous territory, nostalgia. You know, that bloke who was cooked by the age of 30, divorced, bloody, started getting fat, spends all his time trying to organise school reunions on Facebook and complaining because the Chili Peppers didn't play all the songs he wanted. Like, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
that's why the Chili Peppers write new music, mate, so they don't end up fucking dead inside like you are. Like, you know, I'm nostalgic for a couple of things, hair, and and I'm always glad that I got to smoke on a plane. But, you know, other than that,
What a great thing to be nostalgic for.
I don't even smoke anymore. I'd go and have one if you could smoke on a plane again.
Have you tried to explain that to your kids?
Oh, no, it's great.
Smoking on a plane?
Yeah.
And the fact that there was a smoking
It was
section?
brilliant. When it was first, you could still do it. First time I ever went overseas, I went to Africa in about 1993. It was great.
You smoke.
I used to love how stupid we were that we thought just by making the smokers sit over there and the non-smokers like here, that's okay.
Yeah,
Like,
no, doesn't matter.
I can smell when my next door neighbour lights one up now. You know, like
That's it. Yeah, because that used to be a real thing. Like you book a hotel room or
Smoke
you know, or in a restaurant, smoking or non-smoking.
yeah,
And
you could smoke anywhere.
it was. I remember when they first started talking about they'll ban it in pubs,
Yeah.
and I was like, there's no way they will ever ban smoking in pubs. It just you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then it just almost like overnight, just the momentum.
They started like where it'd be half non and half smoking, and now, but I mean, they still cater for them because they know, like the pokey players, they've got those sort of semi-outdoor pokey areas, and you know, they know where their
one
bread's
addiction
buttered.
breeds another.
Oh fucking hell.
That's my brother is like runs pubs. He's worked in pubs his whole life, and he said that was the biggest adjustment.
Yeah.
When they stopped the smoke. Is he said the smoke covered a lot of smells that you just didn't want to smell in a pub.
I remember walking into my local at Bondi when they first introduced it and went, oh, it smells a bit wrong in here.
Yeah. Well, you notice now a lot less carpet in pubs.
Yeah.
Like that's where that almost that industrial chic look came. It's like no, polished concrete's probably better for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All those surfaces that don't soak anything up. Because you got to remember, beers
Oh, yeah, I know.
got yeast in it.
Yeah.
That'll get in your carpets, and that'll have a life of its own.
Yeah, I think that's where cigarette smoke must have just neutralised all that.
Yeah, because you go in and that was just the overpowering. Oh yeah, smoking.
You can smoke anywhere again now. Actually, with a vape, you can freaking.
Those things shit me.
I know you've done jokes about them, don't you? Yeah, I quite like them when I have a beer. That's my trade-off. I'll tell you what. I've done my own research on this.
Here we go.
But if they're not 100 times better for you than cigarettes, I tell you, as someone who used to, and you know, I like anything I do. When I do it properly. So I used to smoke properly. You know, I haven't for 15 or more years now. But the vapes, if I can have a few vapes with a beer, get up and go for a run the next morning. I used to have cigarettes, and even up to a few years ago when I still smoked when I drank, how much that increases your hangover and all those chemicals, you feel absolutely shit. Like, I'm sure vaping's not good for you, but fucking hell, it's so much better than smoking, I tell you.
Yeah, look, you don't. I'm not arguing that. The thing that shits me about the vaping,
it's a bit gay, don't you? Really?
Well, it's a bit like you can't tell me you're not trying to get kids addicted to something.
Oh no,
when you're making it all bubblegum and blueberry and whatever flavors and it lights up at the end and like it's all the little tricks that. Yeah. And
well, then cigarette or nicotine or tobacco companies, they're not known for their moral authoritarianism.
No, exactly,
you know,
exactly. But at least they had
pretend.
They had a harder.
It's like KFC, they've never pretended to be healthy, whereas McDonald's fucking went and put their salads in and that sort of shit. So who are you kidding? You know. But you're right. But having said that, I'm still. They go, oh, kids are doing it now. I'm like, well, it's better than if kids were smoking. Yeah. I suppose. I mean, the thing is, they can do it in more places than they could. But if you walk into your kid's bedroom, you're still going to smell banana, aren't you? If they've been smoking a banana vape or whatever. Yeah. But you're right, it is addictive. But anyway, I don't care. I'm talking self-interest here. And fuck the kids.
But that's my thing is like I also don't care particularly if it's people using it to get off
Oh God, yeah.
cigarettes. That's a much better way
Oh man,
to get
I
your nicotine.
gave up cigarette smoking so many times, and then I made a deal with myself when I was about 38 that right, the only time I'll do it is if I'm having a beer, and I used to only ever drink once a week or maybe twice. Now it's about 4 or 5 times with the
Well,
kids.
you miss the cigarettes.
So yeah, but I could do it, and then as soon as I had a beer, I'd be like, no, you just start going through, and I was like, all right. And then when they came out, I'm like, oh, this is better. And I don't do it, that much because no one smokes anymore. So if you're a smoker, everyone looks at you like there's something wrong with you, But it's changed. But that's got to be a gazillion-dollar industry because you're not meant to be able to buy them.
Yeah,
like, I've never known if I could walk into any place and they're not even sort of looking at me like, as far as some people know, I could be a cop. You know, like. No, what they must be making that much money off them.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny because it is not. You're not supposed to be, but people will. Like shops will just have signs up.
Yeah,
like
I mean, they've obviously got nicotine-free ones, but no one wants them.
No,
because I used to have for a while. I was getting them from New Zealand and ordering them from there.
Really?
Yeah, and now everyone was like, "No, you just go into your tobacconist." So any cop could walk into a tobacconist every day and pull 1,000 of them out. But it's supply and demand. I mean, that's what, you'd know better than me, but that's surely what happens when they make something illegal. like the Class A drugs, they've gotten worse and stronger than they were in the 1930s when you could get a script for them should you need them, and creating massive criminal enterprise as well, aren't you?
Well, that's the thing that I think, this is going back to that thing about when people are very sure about a simple solution to a complex problem.
Yeah, God, yeah.
It's like, everything you do will then have a kick-on consequence. Because, especially with drugs, like I love this whole thing, that people... my favourite are the people who are, only want to eat organic and don't want to eat at McDonald's because McDonald's is an evil corporation.
And sniff cocaine off the dirty toilet seat.
And more than happy to, like, this is a drug that's done more devastation through Central and South America than anything. But, McDonald's, no, they're the evil corporation.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, I mean, which, either way, just acknowledge you're a hypocrite and let's get on with life. Like, it's...
You got to be.
Yeah.
You're not fair dinkum if you're not a hypocrite at some level, are you?
Oh, mate, we're all hypocrites.
You got to be.
You just...
Yeah, it's too hard not to be, mate.
Exactly.
Like, that's why, like, with anyone who gets a bit, with all the online rage and outrage and whatever, like, geez, you want to be careful. Like, they don't, sometimes they must get to a point where, who did they attack the other day online, that Father Bob? There's a guy on Twitter who seems to be... I think it was that sort of patronising, oh, look, here's a Catholic, a priest we can all like because he's a bit progressive. And then they found out he wrote a letter for that ex-Collingwood cheer squad leader who had done something with a boy many, many years ago. And he just wrote a letter, not saying, hey, fuck kids up the arse or whatever. Like, he was saying he's been a good person while I've known him. And Twitter just... turned on
just destroyed him.
So so people just, and sometimes they must go, oh geez, I'm not sure which side to be on here.
Mate, I got a reference once. This probably shouldn't be
edit it out.
No, I got a reference for a job at the time, like from our local member. Because my old man just knew him. My old man was principal, and so he'd come down, hand out awards and stuff. And so I met him a few times. Turns out he ended up getting locked up for cannabis and having sex with underage kids and sorts of stuff. And I was like, well, this is...
Is that Greek bloke?
Orkopolis, Yep. Yeah, he was just a local member.
Right.
And so at the time, it's like, if you can get a local member to give you a reference for a job.
Eddie Maguire gives a reference to some footballer. It's like, well, of course your fucking friends like you.
Yeah.
Like someone like Ted Bundy.
Well, just hang out. Milton Orkopolis and I weren't friends.
No, sorry. It's not you. I'm talking about Eddie Maguire. It'd be like your dad writing you a reference. Well, yeah. It doesn't... I reckon you get the president of another footy club to write down what he thinks about you. It's... I just don't get that. It's like, well, Eddie Maguire said he's a good bloke. So, well, fucking...
Are they still even a thing, though? I don't know. I haven't had real jobs in a while.
But, I mean, when the footballers fuck up and... he does a lot for charity, does he? Yeah.
Mate, I love that this idea, like, with the sports, like, because you were talking about rugby league, you wouldn't let kids play rugby league, is that any sport is better or worse than the others when it comes to all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
Yeah.
they've all got an element. Like, you want to
different types of.
Did you get across the during the lockdowns the story with the jockeys in Melbourne? That went down the Mornington Peninsula.
A little bit, not
like
hugely.
That's jockeys having breaking lockdown rules to go to Mornington Peninsula and have orgies or whatever they were doing. There's jockeys.
Funny little orgies. Jockeys, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, I know, you're right. And it's too easy to be, critical of rugby. I loved rugby league. I think since I just haven't had time anymore, I just don't watch it as much anymore. Yeah. That's all it is. And it's a good, easy one to take the piss out of as well.
Oh, massive.
From a comedy perspective.
Mate, I made a whole...
and they're not bad at laughing at themselves either.
That's the other thing I will say about league is that they don't kid themselves about who they are.
That's when you know you're in trouble, or you're in the company of a real fuckhead when they can't laugh at themselves.
That's exactly,
As a comedian, when you say something, they're like, what?
Yeah. So, that's what I did, because I got a few jokes about real estate agents, and I did a thing, just a dinner a little while ago.
Yeah.
And I said to the real estate agent, he laughed along. And I said to him afterwards, I've been making fun of real estate agents for close to 10 years, and no one has ever complained. So I make
cyclists,
fun of teachers,
real estate
I'll get
agents.
the occasional
Yeah,
teacher
exactly. Yeah,
complain.
cyclists, real estate agents, insurance salesmen, you fucking fair game, mate. Fair game.
That's it. They know who they are. Yes. So your podcast.
Oh yeah, we do. I do one as well.
That's right. To explain the concept behind your podcast.
Well, I was doing one on my own for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it was called Your Hobby is Shit, and it was basically just me, I don't know, lockdown. Needed a way to occupy my brain, and that was basically about what we were talking about earlier: obsession. Like how unhealthy it is to be fanatical or obsessive about something. Like someone who's all of a sudden discovered something and they're evangelically enthusiastic about it. And it's like, it's all right. Just
no one more zealous than a convert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that one I did on my own, but it's like anything, going to a corporate by yourself. I'd rather earn half the money and go with a mate. Yeah. Or a whole group of us and earn bloody a quarter of the money, and have camaraderie.
An experience.
Yeah, and just have some friends around. So I interviewed Mick Meredith who for my podcast, and then I've always loved him when I first started doing comedy. He was someone I watched very closely, and then I just sort of said to him, should we do one? And then he's like, yeah, that'd be fun. And then we just came across this idea of just, crazy mad dogs, basically. That's what's called, mad dogs. So we just historically just look up some famous, some unknown. Sometimes it's just a topic. Like yesterday we did one just on vigilantes. I'd found a few vigilantes through history that had done their thing. We've done famous ones like footballers and actors, or he's into music, so he does a lot. We just recorded an Ozzy Osbourne one yesterday, so yeah. And then
plenty to work with there.
More than anything, like my wife, and we get obviously both of us get quite a bit of unsolicited feedback from our better halves, and even other people that write in, they just love sort of the banter, and it's fun. Like we haven't set, we've got other friends that have podcasts where they make quite a bit of money, and like that's not us yet. But I'm really good at finding things that I can't make much money at, actually.
Hey, same.
I've been really good at that my whole life, actually.
Yeah. Doing it for the love.
Well, you know what, stuff we were talking about before, being able to live off stage is equally as important, and not everyone that we do our profession with lives well off stage. So
no,
and by well I mean mentally well and socially and whatever, not just financially.
A big thing at the moment is just in trying to enjoy the process of everything.
Yeah,
because you realise that the however long you're on stage and it's all going well, that's great.
Yeah, but
that's what's that maximum?
Yeah, half an hour usually.
So you got 23 and a half hours.
Yeah.
To have a life outside of that, and if you're not enjoying that 23 and a half hours, then it can be pretty rough.
Yeah, well, and I've lived that life previously, and so I know. Yeah, but so we do that podcast, the Mad Dogs, and that's just fun. Like, we both enjoy it, you know, and we just slag each other off a bit and have a laugh, and that's basically it, mate. Yeah. What else can I plug one?
Yeah, plug whatever you want.
I'm doing a festival show, just a one night. Are you doing the Sydney Comedy Festival this year? You doing a few nights? Or?
I'm doing 2. I'm doing 20th and 21st of May. I think,
so that's a week after me.
Enmore Comedy Club, that little.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah,
good
well because I've always been in that fucking shipping container. You know, it's like it's not good for your self-esteem. But they've given me the factory floor, which is about 120 odd seats for one night. So I'm going to
lovely.
What's it called? Just Woody alive on the floor.
What's the date?
Friday, 12 May.
Friday, 12th of May.
9:30 p.m. at the Factory Theatre.
Yeah, definitely get along with that.
Yeah, I'm going to.
You're one of these guys.
I'm not good at selling myself.
No, you and I have similar problems there with the.
I just think if you're good at something, it should happen. You know,
that old school feeling.
I often think, and I know it's not necessarily an accurate comparison, but I was like, if I'd ever been anywhere near as good at football as what I am, I'm not saying I'm brilliant at comedy, but I can tell that I go all right. I'd be at least playing fucking State of Origin, you know? And I'd be a lot wealthier. But,
oh mate, you actually lately your name's come up a few times with just kicking around the traps, people that have gigged with you, talking about how good all your stuff is at the moment.
Oh, that's
and how good you go.
It's been going well. Like I did the Taronga Zoo one on Saturday night.
Taronga
Twilight.
Zoo? What?
Oh, I just talked to
Where
the animals.
Where did this come from?
It's A-list gig. They've done it over years. So for about 6 months over summer and autumn, 6 weeks, they have bands and stuff. So Friday night they had the Daryl Braithwaite on, and then Saturday night was comedy. And outdoor comedy, it was a bit 2,000 people, and it was fucking brilliant.
Nice,
absolutely brilliant it was. Yeah, and we got spoiled a bit by getting that VIP treatment. Got to take the kids, and they went and patted Seal, and
how good.
It was great. So stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely felt like the last year or so things have been going better and better. But it doesn't mean much unless you're enjoying doing it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and if I can build an audience at some point along the way, great. But if not, it still beats working for a living.
That's 100%.
Yeah,
true. And it's I think too sometimes like I don't know when you start you'll kind of want that quick bang.
Yeah,
I think the slow burn career is probably a bit better.
It's the hare and the tortoise, mate. I've always been I'm late to most parties, but. Like even podcasts, like if I'd started one 5 years before, there'd be the huge difference in just naturally the number of listeners you'd accrue.
Mate, I started this, and then when I got real busy at Fox, when I started working there all the time, I just let this go. Yep. And now I look and go, if I had just kept it going in that gap.
Yep. Even the year from when I did my Your Hobby is Shit one, which they're all still available online. From 1 year later when Mick and I started doing ours, how much more difficult it is to attract listeners just by the volume.
Yeah, there's so many podcasts out there now.
But I don't mind anyway. As far as comedy goes, it's fine. Like I'm still learning and trying to write new jokes and whatever. And I could probably make a bit more effort to sell myself, which I will do slightly.
Well, you've got the background in websites. Surely you're online. When you said that was one of the things I went. So of all the guys I would have thought had a background like in early online development.
Yeah, I know.
Knowing your online presence is like it's good, but it's not. You're not.
No.
You're not what I'd call a YouTube or a TikTok comedian.
No. Oh, you just keep your eye on them, mate. As I start trying to sell tickets for this one show, I'll be doing more and more of that, Barney. I will.
Good. I actually have been trying to do more of that stuff too, and it was it
doesn't feel good, does it? Really,
it doesn't feel natural to me. But it was a conversation I had with it might might have been Billy Darcy or one of those
Yeah, he's
younger
fucking good at
guys.
it.
He's good,
Yeah.
and they got a really good presence.
Yeah.
And they said to me, guys like you that have been going, you must have so much material that you could put up online. And I'm like, we didn't just.
I've got audio
video
recordings, just to listen back to. But yeah, that kids video everything. I mean, I'm a bit sick of this. Online, you see them all talking to hecklers or audience members, and it's like, fucking write a joke.
Well, that's. I think that the thinking there is okay. If I just put my crowd work up, I'm not burning my material. But
bullshit. You're not burning your material unless you've like say our mate Luke Heggie. He travels the country now, and he's got probably 20,000 people come to his shows every year. That's burning your material when you've got fans like.
Yeah, who came last year and wanted
my
to see
festival show this year, like say I sell out the 130 seats, 100 of those people might have seen me do 5 minutes somewhere, so I'm not burning material. It's not like you're frigging Chris Rock burning material, or Jerry Seinfeld did the same set for 20 years.
Yeah,
so
worked out for him.
The only reason I write new stuff purely because one, I want to get better, and two, I like doing it, and so I don't go friggin' mad.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
It gets to a certain point with just because of my performance, when I lose the blood.
Oh, some jokes, like when you I do a couple of, when I do sports clubs and that, where I do my old rugby league jokes and that, it's like, oh, fuck, I hate doing them, but they work, so you do them. Yeah. But, you keep on keeping on. I'm going to make a bit more of an effort to sell myself. And
so where can people find you selling yourself? Online.
On a street corner. I think, I don't know, on Instagram.
What's
basically.
your Instagram?
Woody Comedian, I think.
Woody Comedian. I think it is Woody Comedian.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't try not to use Facebook too much, or Twitter. I just look for the carnage of people arguing with each other. But mostly Instagram seems to be the one these days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think I've got a TikTok one too, but I haven't started using it yet.
Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day, and they'd had something go like, because I've put a couple of clips that I put on my Instagram. I just went, okay, I'll put them on TikTok, see how they go. And it's just like, I don't know how this works. They're getting, they get a few hundred views or whatever, get some likes. But then I was talking to another comedian, and he's like, oh yeah, he told me what it was, and it was basically just an A to B thought about something current in the news. He goes, it got 1.2 million.
Yeah. I posted a thing a couple of weeks back of just me feeding homemade pizza to my cockatiels.
Yeah.
They were just chewing on the crust. And I've never, ever written a joke, obviously, anywhere near that good. It got tens of thousands. It just went. And I'm like, holy shit, just watching it happen in real time. And I'm just like, and then I thought, all right, so the week later, I got one of the birds eating Doritos. 1,000 views. No, it's just
people
you
like
don't try and work out that algorithm. You just got, and that's that fast rise rather than just gradually building towards something. So, there's a lesson in that too, isn't there?
Oh, 100%.
Well, and don't crave.
Well, that's, I think too, you can't chase the audience too hard.
God,
you end up in that position where
no
you're
one
not
has
doing
a right. It's not even wanting to be famous. No one's got a right to be famous. I just want to be able to earn just probably a little 20 to 30% more, and then that's all I need to be able to sustain everything I do and with the family, because that's basically it. But other than that, look, there's just as many good comedians that no one's ever heard of as there is ones that you see. But mind you, I wouldn't want to be famous anyway. You see the shit Dave Hughes has to put up with, the online abuse, e-cops and whatever. Jesus Christ.
It's constant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that double-edged sword of, you can sell the tickets and you can,
Yeah, and that's all you really, once you're on stage, you don't care. You just want to be enjoying yourself. That's all.
Well, that's the thing. If I can get to a point where I'm just selling enough tickets.
Yeah, that's
then
all I want.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
And it's, like you said, it's actually not even that, you don't have to be that rich. Or
and
whatever.
it's not. It's actually nothing to. Some people, and we see a lot of them, and it's very obvious that they're just fame whores, and they're just. It's like ambitious, but blind ambition. It's purely they just. And I don't want. I mean, it's nice to get the attention on stage. People laugh at your jokes. Brilliant. That's job done. But I don't need them to think I'm a great person or want to be my friend. Or I always talk to anyone who wants to chat after a show. But I'm just there. I just want to say stuff. You know, it's about the only thing I'm any good at. So,
well, you're very good at it.
Trying, mate. Trying.
Mate, the other one I don't get is the people that, you know, when they get their break, then it's just like these people that want to have the 7 jobs instead of.
Oh,
having,
yeah.
Know, I mean, things they do really well.
Luke Heggie and I talk about this all the time. He's like, the respect for stand-up, which is the most difficult of all the comedic arts probably, and the purest form of it, is probably the least respected. You know, like almost you would get a reward if you're good at stand-up and you don't have to do stand-up anymore. It's like, fucking what?
Yeah.
You know, like I've had a few ideas lately actually about a way to just promote stand-up from anyone, you know, like whether on an app or so. I know in America they do it where they've got a radio station with comedians, you know, so you can listen to maybe 5 minutes of someone, 10 minutes of someone. Because there's no way for people, obviously most people don't go to stand-up.
No.
So I'm trying to think of, you know, perhaps an audio way of, you know, you can send me something that you've recorded and put that on for, you know, whether it's a podcast sense or something like that. Because there's got to be a way to get beyond the Melbourne or Sydney galas that people watch on TV once a year and a few people on YouTube. But everyone's just walking around listening to stuff all the time. So I'm trying to think of a way to maybe promote stand-up from people from open mic through to, you know, semi-pro to professional. Because it's a bit of a shame, you know.
It is, and that's, I often think, like, you know, you have a good night of comedy. Like, well, we're actually doing tonight, we're doing that gig you did at the Oaks at that little pub.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. And it's so, like, if you could bottle that.
Absolutely.
And let people know how good it can be.
Yeah, anyway, we'll talk about that off air because I've got a couple of ideas that, you know, might be a good way to promote stand-up beyond the 10 people we see on TV all the time, you know.
Beautiful. Well, mate, thank you very much for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Barney.
Woody
Good
comedian.
to see you, mate.
And what was that date again for your show?
Friday, 12 May.
Friday, 12th of May. Tickets at Sydney
I've got
Comedy Festival.
Annie Boyle opening for me.
Oh,
I love her
nice.
stuff.
She's real good.
She's great. Good kid.
Yep.
So I thought that'd be a nice idea. Just want to have fun, mate. That's all I ever want to do when I'm doing my own show, you know.
That'll be a cracking show. So go along to that if you're in and around Sydney on that date. Other than that, mate, thanks for doing this.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.
Good on you.